Do you want us to kill some more lights?
I think it's alright. It's alright, right, you guys? Alright, since the new book is about the journals, it's a riff on the journals of Lewis and Clark. I'd like to start tonight with Today in the Journals of Lewis and Clark. So let's see, March 26, 1806. The Corps was about 2 days upriver from Fort Clatsop. They had just broken winter camp and they're heading back home to St. Louis in March of 1806. Lewis wrote, "Soon after we halted for dinner, the two Owakikums, who have been pursuing us since yesterday morning with 2 dogs for sale, arrived. They wished tobacco in exchange for their dogs, which we were not disposed to give, as our stock is now reduced to a few carrots." There you go. So we had a cigarette poem, and we had Lewis and Clark trying to trade tobacco with the natives along the lower Columbia. Somehow it's all related. This book includes my first cartoons and my first drawings. And I want to show you my very first cartoon. I promised to bring my very first cartoon. And it's just to show you how far I've come when you see the book. Right. So here's my very first cartoon. I learned in David Lasky's graphic novel class at the Hugo House. Will us know today, fan on the lone space heater has only one speed. And just so I just want to show you how far I've come. Here's a cartoon which I call Dispatches from the new book. Oh. The captains didn't say a word for miles. So here we go. Where is the source of our misery? For this is destiny, proximity, history, misery. Retrieval is an active investigative effort to recreate facts based on fragments. You either expect rhyme and regular rhythm, or you don't. You either expect narrative, or you don't. Acts remain uncountable. Its continuous landscape, its infinite movement, all muscle and manifest. The passage of time leads to a weakening of events and facts that were once clear and chock full of specifics. For this is inrelatedness, incompleteness, forgetfulness. 3 examples. You fight the fish so you can fight the hook. Shovels leave clumps of dirt on March snow. I forget that surveyors were working nearby. We often feel sympathy, irony, and discomfort as onlookers at historical sites. To stand in this place in wide emptiness, so last in this space where you feel so vast. Memory as combustible as August grass. This is grass I collected at the Sakakawea Memorial in South Dakota, outside of Mobridge. I used the journals as a source of language to construct new poems as part of this collection, and I call them sonnets. So these are actually all journal entries that I've taken from William Clark. Sonnet. The leaves of all the trees is now fallen, except a tree, an oak, which stands alone to make them brave. At daylight, it began to snow and continued all the forepart of the day. The leaves of the trees die and have now fallen. The snow did not lie. I rode until very late at night, but little time to devote to my friends. The river is falling fast. Men building pirogues, making roads, burning coal, hanging up meat, making battle axes for corn. All the birds that we believe visit this country have now returned. Smoked a pipe with himself and several old men, but few nights pass without a dance. So, I'm going to do one more sonnet. Saw great numbers of geese, saw flowers in the prairies, saw more bald eagles than usual. also a small hawk. Saw the remains of Indian camps after sunset. Saw some fresh Indian tracks, some very large beaver taken this morning. Saw a curlew, a gang of brant pass. Saw several sitting on the bank near the water's edge, on the prairies, on the young grass. So that's William Clark put together in sonnets. There's a series of blues in here, and this blues I'm going to try for you is for Sacagawea. So blues. I'm gathering up, I'm carrying my burden another day. Yes, I'm gathering him up, said I carry my burden another day. I keep a tight hold for those things, trying to float away. I know about a hard life, though you say I'm young. You know I know about a hard life, though you say I'm young. I'll be that lost coda to your song. I'll be what they leave unsung. I'm proceeding on down through all this misery. And you see I'm proceeding on down through all this damn misery. I struggle to interpret all these feelings being lonely. There's a series of poems in here called riff. Riff's a jazz term, as you probably know, that takes the same notes or phrase and repeats it. And so this riff is based on journal entries when they first arrived at the coast. It rained every day that winter, and this is a summary of those weather reports. Riff. Rained all the after. Rain, we are all wet. Our situation is truly disagreeable one. We are all wet as usual, distressing to see our situation all wet and cold. The rain continues all day, all wet, rotted nearly one half of the few clothes, all wet and confined to our shelters. We are all wet, our bedding and stores also wet, etc. Rained all the after, rain continues, the morning is wet as usual, great quantities of rain, our situation all wet and cold, rain continues all day, all wet, which has continued, all wet, rained all last night, we are all wet, proceeding on through heavy rain gusts of rain, hail and thunder, rained all the after, slept very little, all wet as usual. The great quantities of rain, small stones fall down upon us to see our situation. Destroyed the robes and rotted, all wet, continued without longer intermission, all wet, our bedding and stores, whirlwinds, worst day that ever was. I wanted to update the journals for more modern times, and so I came up with this idea of substitution. So these are journal entries, but I've substituted words for other words. And so in this example, substitution, for buffaloes, I've substituted hippies. The open bottoms border on the hills and are all covered in many parts by the wild hyssop, which rises to the height of 2 feet. I observed the hippies feed on this herb.
Hi.
2 hippies were near the water at the time of dining. I also saw parcels of hippies' hair hanging on the rose bushes, which had been bleached by exposure to the weather and became perfectly white. Walking on shore this evening, I met with a hippie, which attached itself to me and continued following close at my heels until I embarked and left. The hippie appeared alarmed at my dog. The hippies are so gentle that we pass near them while feeding without appearing to excite any alarm among them. And when we attract their attention, hippies frequently approach us more nearly to discover what we are, and in some instances pursue us at a considerable distance. I saw immense quantities of hippies in every direction. They are extremely gentle. The bull hippie, particularly, will scarcely give way to you. I passed several in the open plains within 50 paces. They viewed me for a moment as something novel and then very unconcernedly continued. I wrote some jokes. If you don't know the journals really well, you may not get the whole context. So if you don't get the joke, it's okay. I can explain later to you. But I'm probably going to laugh because I wrote them and I think they're funny. Joke. When the party moves indoors, only the captains return to the keelboat with seamen. One person got it, all right. Joke. The captains have this interpreter, right? So when the natives say, "Eat, shit, and die, you miserable bastards," they hear, "We beseech you, sleep with our Missouri wives." All right. Okay, I'll try one more. Joke. The captains walk into the sports bar, North Dakota, Sunday afternoon. They see Buffalo playing. All right, that's all right, good. Yeah, for the jokes. Good thing I'm not at stand-up tonight. There's a bunch of fill-in-the-blanks taken from travel guides written about the Lewis and Clark Trail, but I removed all the significant nouns and place names, so you can apply your own trips, your own journeys by filling in the blanks with the travel language. Where does desire begin? When I stand where everything begins, where rivers meet, what do I record? If fortification is added, does a camp or village become a fort? And what are the anthropological presumptions informing that designation? In what ways are the boarded up houses and vacant lots of North St. Louis like the abandoned Mandan village with double bricks? Where we walk, what are we walking over? How does your perspective change by climbing even the slightest mound while on the Great Plains? How many quarters does it take to win the Golden Buffalo? How does the word encounter take on contextual significance when asking a Sioux street artist about the meaning symbolized in his paintings and wondering how long tattoos have marked members of the tribe? What are the characteristics of A, prairie grass that makes it a good place for taking a piss, or B, sandbars that remain useful while not permanent to citizens of the river? Does size matter when evaluating the effectiveness of river transportation and functionality, as in canoe, pirogue, keelboat, and riverboat? True or false? Desire's only concern is what was or what might be.